Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are checking this video out for the very first time, thank you for joining us. My name is Lauren and I have a kind of, oh blimey, what is the schedule at the moment? A regular podcast. It's at worst once every 2 weeks, at best every single week. And I just talk to you about finished objects, what I'm making, some future knitting plans, any yarn acquisitions, and sometimes some kind of bonus content talking about various knitting or yarn or fibre related businesses here in the UK. So today I'm joining you on a Sunday. This is part of this very kind of new schedule during this kind of time of peak busyness where, ironically, rather than putting out fewer episodes, I'm putting out more, but hopefully they're a bit kind of shorter and just keeping you up to date on things a bit more contemporaneously, like as they're happening. So I'm joining you on a Sunday. It's been a really lovely weekend, very relaxing, which was much needed. I hope all of you have been having a good weekend. And I'm joining you with a cup of English breakfast tea and lots of works in progress to chat to you about. Not very many finished objects, if I'm honest. In fact, I don't think there are any like official finished objects, but yeah, just lots of kind of bits that are in progress. I'm excited to chat to you about them. So to get started, let's go to my first kind of semi-finished object. So for those of you who've been watching for a while, you might remember that having visited the John Arbon Textiles mill in South Molton, which is North Devon, the other week, I bought in their kind of sales bin a selection of mini skeins of their like single ply, super thin, where basically they've had to cut their machines off before it's been at the proper length for various reasons. And instead of that all going to waste, what they've done is wound that into mini skeins. And then what I'm doing is holding two strands together, so holding it double, and I am knitting them into these tiny garter triangles to go into either, if I've got enough of them from the minis that I bought from John Arbon, then I'll keep all the minis together and make a small, either like a lap blanket or a cushion cover just with the shades that I bought from John Arbon, because the colours just go together so beautifully. Or if there's not enough of them because they're kind of using up too much yarn for each triangle, that I don't have enough triangles, then I might make them part of my wider small triangles blanket. So that's why I've kind of done it in this design, because then I can kind of go either way. But these are just some really tiny garter stitch triangles. I cast on 30 stitches on 2.25mm needles. I just use like a kind of pair of DPNs that I don't use for anything else. And then essentially I just decrease one stitch on one edge every other row until I get down to 3 stitches, and then I cast those off and pull the end through the last stitch, and then that's it really. And then I haven't decided whether I will try and get 2 of each colour made, obviously more if I can. I don't, oops, dropping things on the floor. I don't think this nugget will do a whole third one, purely because I'm holding it double. So whilst that would be enough if I was holding it single, I'm holding it double for strength, because the singles I was finding were breaking when I was trying to knit them on their own. So I don't know if I'll have enough for another triangle out of this shade. Some mini skeins might have a bit more yarn on them and I might be able to, so we'll just have to see. But so far, 2 triangles, so I guess you could call these finished sections even if they're not finished objects. So there we go. So that's it for kind of finished objects. Works in progress wise, so last time we spoke I had got my sock mojo going again. I have not made any progress on the socks that I was knitting up out of the John Arbon Exmoor sock. Reason being that I've reached the point where I need to do the heel, flap, turn and gusset, and I like doing that when I've kind of got like time dedicated to it, but at the moment I was doing lots of travelling, commuting, and I needed just something plain stockinette. So I have done my first sock tube. Now this is so close to being a hoe, a half-finished object, but it's not quite, and I just had to go with that. So this is my first ever time doing like a sock tube, and basically I want to learn how to do afterthought heels and toes from a sock tube. Now I don't think this tube is on its own going to be long enough for a pair, so it might be that I end up with just enough to make a singular sock, but that's also fine. I've got this much left of this main colour. My original plan was to then do a cuff on the other end, so I'd do folded cuffs. So I just need to fold this over. But actually I might just put a toe on the end and then teach myself an afterthought heel in the middle. And it won't be quite the full learning experience that I was wanting, but I will have at least learnt one component. So this will hopefully turn into a sock with an afterthought heel, but the problem is then it will be one on its own. So my other thought is whether I finish this tiny little nugget that's left, add on another set of rows in this light blue, which would be a cuff on the other end, divide this whole thing in half, and then I would need to continue knitting, but in another, I'm trying to use up yarn here. This is all scrap yarn of various quantities. So whether I find another sock yarn scrap that I could then extend both halves longer to make those into full socks before adding a toe and then an afterthought heel. I don't know, but either way, quite a lot of knitting on this sock tube, given that when I last showed you, I think we were kind of like here. So quite a lot. This has been excellent train knitting, or like when my brain is just too full, but I know that I need the motion of knitting to kind of calm me down a bit. So this has been fabulous, and I love the colour gradient in this. This is this top scrap is some Lang yarns, jowl sock I think, and then this main one, and I always get this wrong, but I think this is Shopple yarns in the crazy Zabba ball. I call them shopper balls, but they're not. That's me combining the brand name with the yarn base. A Zabba ball sock blend, and it's in this kind of like almost like tartany. It reminds me of like Scottish tartan, but it's beautiful. So that's been a lot of progress there on that project. Another project that I've had quite a lot of progress on, which I think some people are quite excited to see, which is lovely, is on my so-called Grink wrap. This is a self-drafted, I'm not going to call it design, just like a self-drafted shawl. So trying to show you, but hopefully you can see there's been a lot of progress since I last showed you. Sorry, the needles clink around a lot as well, which is super annoying. Let's do that, that'll be better. So hard to show because it's rolling at the edges because it's in stockinette stitch, but essentially this is an Intarsia design. This had a bit of a process. If you watch some of my earlier, some of my episodes, the last couple, you will hear the full backstory. But basically, it took me a while to get this project going, but now I'm in full swing. So essentially, this wrap, the main, if you ignore this grey bit for a moment, all of this bit between my two hands is all knit with one strand of knoll yarns, lamb's wool in a kind of weaving weight. It's a very, very thin yarn. One strand of that in the shade Almond, held with various mohairs, and it's the mohair that I'm changing the colour of. So here is the Almond held with an Issea mohair in the kind of a crew colour, and then this pink, or darker pink, because this is actually kind of a blushy pink, this is the Almond knoll yarns held with Gulrock Fibres rose gold mohair, which is just beautiful. It's naturally dyed and the silk core is gold, and then it's the gorgeous kind of dusky rose floof coming out of it. And then I have a kind of cranberry coloured mohair from Shalana that I will then hold with the Almond further along in the wrap. And then this end grey bit is two strands of knoll yarns, that lamb's wool kind of weaving weight yarn, held together in the colourway Oxford. And basically the plan is to keep going with Intarsia different shapes. I think I'm going to continue this shape here all the way along this edge until I've run out of this lighter mohair. I've got kind of a ball this size and then another one that's a little bit smaller left. And then on the opposite side, I will at some point overlap with the Shalana coming in on a panel on the other side. And then from there it will start to be the Shalana, the darker, that's then forming these shapes on the background of the dusky pink. So I'm hoping that this Gulrock Fibres mohair will, there'll be enough of it to be the background colour the whole way through. Let's hope. It may be that I have to change plans and suddenly the Shalana cranberry coloured mohair will suddenly become the background, but I hope not. And then the idea will be to go back to this end, extend this grey to kind of a border probably about that thick, have that on both ends, and then do panels down the sides as well, and then do some sort of I-cord edging around the whole lot. That's the plan. And call my Grink wrap because it's a mixture of grey and pink. It's easy as that, really. So anyway, loving it. This is my first shot at Intarsia. Really enjoying it. Will absolutely be doing it again. I have some design ideas to include Intarsia. So yeah, really enjoying this. The only thing I would say is that it's not very portable, which has definitely hampered my progress. It's the project that I really want to be working on at the moment, but it's just not portable. So there we go. So that's kind of 2 works in progress so far that I've been working on this week. I've also been working a little bit on a grey shawl that I think I showed you last time, so I'll just pick that up off the floor. So last time I showed you, I'd also cast on from some yarn that I'd actually frogged from another project. I won't go into all the boring details, but the yarn is essentially some Uppingham Yarns, British single ply fingering wool, in, I think it's a Gotland base, and basically I'm holding that double. And then on 3.75mm needles, I was creating this really textured, ribby look, and it's going to be a shawl. I made a decent amount of progress on this whilst I was away on some work trips and stuff, and I do want to pick it back up. I just temporarily needed the needles for something else. And that something else is cast on in some of the yarn I recently got when I was at the Retrosaria Rosa Pomar yarn shop in Lisbon. So there was 2 colours from that. I mean, I loved all the yarn I bought, but there was 2 colours in particular that were just vibing with me, and I just thought, let yourself cast something on. I don't know if I will keep going with this or if I will frog, because it definitely, I knew at the time it was spare at the moment, so we'll see. The yarns that I've cast on is the Tuku wool fingering in this gorgeous dark green colour that I think is like Havu or something, which one of my kind viewers messaged me to say what that actually means as a translation. So I'll have to pull that up and maybe put that up here on the screen. And then the Malabrigo sock yarn, and this is on the colourway Turner. And so both of these, I'm knitting them up, and what I wanted to create was like, kind of like, I was looking at the Love Note by Tin Can Knits, I was looking at the Lento sweater, and I did have enough for one of those 2, but I don't know why, there was just something making me go, no, I don't want to do either of those. So anyway, on 5mm needles, which is what pretty much both of those call for, if not even bigger, if not they call for bigger, but I just started from a bottom up, doing kind of like a stripy what could potentially be a top. I would then split to do the back and front separately, and then maybe do a 3 needle bind off on the shoulders. I don't know. So we'll see if I keep going or if I actually rip this back and actually follow a pattern, because I feel like I've got too many things at the moment that I'm drafting myself, and it means I just don't get that relaxing, like following instructions vibe. So yeah, I might rip this back, which would be a bit of a shame, particularly as I have been, instead of carrying the float for the stripes, I've actually been like tying it off. So that'd be a bit of a shame, but look, let me see. But there has been some work put into this. I just wanted the colours to play together, and I think they play together beautifully. Like when the sun hits this, it's just a gorgeous combo. So very excited about that. So that's something else I've been working on. That's what I nicked the cord for from the grey wrap, which some may argue may not have been a very good idea, but we're just going with the flow at the moment. Not every idea has to be a good one. And then finally, for those of you who are sports fans, the Tour de France started on Saturday, so yesterday, and I have got into it recently, over recent years, but one of the things that really got me into it was finding out that lots of people in the knitting and fibre community do Tour de Fleece, where they spin whilst watching the Tour de France. Now, I absolutely cannot watch the live footage each day and spin along to that. I A, don't have a spinning wheel, so that would be a huge amount of drop spindling. B, I wish I had the time to, but I really don't have the time to do that. But today I did have the time, so I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched the first couple of hours, but I did pick up some spinning that, for those of you who've been watching for a while, you will be familiar with. I picked up some fibre from Lay Family Yarns when I went to Wonderwool in Wales, and I have started spinning it. So let me show you what I have got up to. Okay, so the fibre that I bought was 2 braids of suspense whilst I try and get this out. I got 2 braids of this. And I think this is a merino alpaca blend. It's blowing out a little bit on camera, but to be honest, not much. It's very bright sunset tones. It's gorgeous. Lay Family Yarns are such a talented small yarn company. I say small not in a patronising way, as in, you know, there are, to the best of my knowledge, they're like a couple that run it, and I just think that's so lovely. But yes, they have created the most beautiful fibres. I have done drop spinning a little bit before. I've always done it just kind of like small, tiny phases. I've never made enough to really do anything with it. And to be honest, I'm still learning so much. I didn't want to put that pressure on myself. However, when I saw 2 of these, I was like, I have to go for this. So I have already spun, I don't even know how much this weighs, but I think it's probably about 30 to 40 grams worth. I showed this in a previous video. This, I was hoping to do a second one and then ply them together, but my singles came out far thicker here than I wanted to, and there are sections that are particularly thick now that I've washed it and kind of let it set. So I just want to leave that as it is. I might at some point knit it quite tightly into something to kind of try and counteract the fact that it's quite uneven. But I was quite happy with my colour management. So there was definitely a learning that I took away from this. I was very happy with my colour management, learned a lot. So now I've got over 50% of that braid left. In fact, I've probably got like 75% of that braid left. Anyway, today I've been, I don't know how we're going to be able to see this, trying to block out my face so it doesn't focus on me. I don't know. It's not going to focus. I have been doing some spinning today, not masses, but a decent chunk, and I'm using my same technique for colour management. So I'm essentially splitting the fibre quite a lot so that I get nice even distributions of these white patches. The other thing I'm doing, because what I found with the first lot that I spun, one of the things that was making my singles uneven was that the bits at the very bottom of my stack, there was such pressure on them, but also some of them didn't have yarns over the, yarn over the top of them, and then those were blooming. Anyway, to try and create a more better evenness, I've put an elastic band as a stopper, and then I'm going up and down from that band, and so far that seems to be working really well, but we'll see. Let me know if you have to come up with any technique to try and like manage the part of your spinning that ends up right at the bottom of, the bit you're loading. But that's working quite well for me so far. I'm absolutely loving the colour. Sorry that the camera won't focus on it any closer up, but the sunset tone's working out beautifully, and this looks so far to be more even. So we're happy with that. So I've got quite a lot of fibre left in this braid. So that's the 50% of the braid, probably another 25%. And these braids are meant 100 grams. So yeah, that's what I've got left to work into here. And then I probably will try and ply this. So it might even be that I kind of spin this in, then I stop, and then I spin this, and then I ply 2 together. I might then end up with a little bit left over, but the main thing for me is I'm getting so much joy from the colours, the colour management, learning, and then I will just try and make small projects out of whatever bits of yarn I get. So, it might be that I kind of crochet this really tightly into a placemat or a little wall hanging or a coaster, I don't know, but I will try and use all of it because it is really gorgeous. I'd love to get to a point where I could spin something that I could then make into a shawl. That would be a really nice thing to do. I do have a spinning wheel, but it's a really, really old one that I picked up from a recycling centre, and it's broken and parts need replacing. So maybe one day I will replace those parts and then actually spin on a wheel, but for now we're on the drop spindle. And I do really enjoy it at times, but it's definitely like knitting is my main thing. So yes, let me put all this back and then I will pause to move on to giveaway announcement. Okay, so a couple of episodes ago, I said that I was basically going to announce a giveaway winner on every even numbered episode based on whoever commented on one before the previous episode. Hope that's not too convoluted. I then completely neglected to do this last episode, so we're going to reverse that. Anyone who comments on an even numbered episode will be in the draw for a giveaway that will be announced on the following episode. And the giveaway prize each time will be a pattern of your choice from my Ravelry shop, if that's the right word, my designs on Ravelry. And I know that's not a prize of yarn, but hopefully it's still a bit of a treat and something that I'm very able to do regularly, so it's just nice to have an ongoing giveaway, I hope. And the winner this episode is Solitary Kieran. I think I'll put the user handle like up here on the screen. I think this might be my lovely viewer called Laura, who I think we've corresponded with before, and I have this feeling that they've changed their name on YouTube. So if it is Laura, I'd be delighted if it's anybody, but it's particularly nice when it's someone that I have spoken to extensively. So let me know. And basically, if I could ask this individual to reach out to me on Instagram, my Instagram is at work.knits. I'll put that up on the screen too and in the description box below. And then if you reach out to me on Instagram and you let me know what your Ravelry username is, then, or actually, we'll do this an easy way. I'll give you a discount code that I'll give you via our conversation on Instagram, and then you can enter that when in my Ravelry store. Terrible English. I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. So yeah, I think that's everything for today. Thank you so much for all of you who have more recently chosen to subscribe to my channel, or have gone over to support me on Ko-fi, or have watched, have liked, commented, whatever. People have done, lots of people have been engaging in new ways over the last week or two, and I'm very, very grateful. I will soon be kicking off a 1,000 subscriber giveaway in our build up to 1,000 subscribers, which is something I never thought I'd be saying. So I'd be really excited to do that. But just thank you all, those of you who've been watching and have chosen to kind of make that transition to subscribing. I'm very, very grateful, particularly given how much I've changed my schedule recently. So thank you for your understanding. And yeah, with that, I just want to wish all of you the best of health, the best of happiness. I hope you're all getting lots of time to knit, craft, whatever makes you happy. And I will see you very, very soon. But in the meantime, do let me know down below what you're making, what's bringing you joy right now. I'd love to hear. And I will chat to you again very, very soon. Bye for now.